then you're using your previous experience and all the rationality, right? But there's another one function, it's called autopilot. It goes automatically, right? For example, if I throw a book like this, and if you throw a book on me, automatically you find that I'll just do this, even though I'm not doing it consciously. That's the brain function, right? So the example is very simple, that I provide an example. What is happening? Suppose the two friends are walking through the jungle, right? Now, all of a sudden, there's a big bear in front of them. It's a very scary situation. The bear is that high, right? So the big bear is standing in front of them. What they will do? What do you think?
Climb on the tree.
Sorry?
Climb on the tree.
Do you think you will get that time?
No. They're running.
Sorry?
Start running backwards or try escaping from the tree.
Start screaming.
Psychology would argue there's two responses, fight or flight.
Or become unconscious.
Huh?
Become unconscious.
Oh, that will be my case. Become an unconscious, right? There's two ways. The one way says that you don't run, you stand, and like she says, you scare the bear. So you scream in such a way the bear will run in the other way. The problem is if you run, it will follow you. And whoever is the slower will be mauled by bear straight away. Right? Now here's the problem. The rationality is that you just take your ground firmly, your two friends stand there firmly, and then scare the bear off, right? Scare in such a way the bear will go the other way. You scream whatever you do, right? But don't run. But in real world situation, that will never happen. Most of the case, what we will do, simply run. Why? Because our brain will set in the autopilot straight away. Save yourself. It's a life and death matter. Right? This is exactly what it does. I mean, you can put this example to explain any kind of irrational behavior. The risk-taking behavior might come from that one as well. When you run, you are taking unnecessary risk. Right? But this is happening because of the autopilot thing in our brain. That could be a good example, right? But don't use that example here, right? I did that thing in the class. So do you understand this example? So clearly what happens, the brain, when it takes a decision, what it does, it actually ignores the previous experience. And what is the previous experience or the previous information that you contain in your brain cell? And the information is such that you should stand firm on the ground and scare this bear, right? That's the information you have, but you simply ignore that because your brain does in that way. And when it does, then you behave irrationally. What is that? You simply run away from that thing. And chances are very high that you will be mauled by the bear as well. Right? So this is the same situation. When you make an investment, sometimes what happens, hey, what is that? Is my picture there? Are you recording everything?
Yeah, no, just explanation.
Oh, okay, he's recording my example and all those things. Now, sometimes what happens, as I give you an example, another example, remember that experiment is running by the skateboard and all those things, right? And moment you put the attractive woman, all of a sudden it turns out those boys are taking unnecessary risk, right? Why is that? Because again, the moment you put the attractive woman, what the brain does, it accelerates that hormone level. It's called the testosterone. And eventually boys behave irrationally. High crash landing and high injury and all those things are happening at that time. Now, you can see that when sometimes we behave irrationally, neuroeconomics can help that to explain why is that. It's the brain chemistry which actually changes everything, right? So this sort of example you can put. You can also relate these things to the global financial crisis. In fact, there's a question about the global financial crisis, right? One of the arguments of the global financial crisis is that people are taking unnecessary risk. Why? Because they're overconfident, right? Now, whether you became an overconfident or not, think about that skateboard example. What happened? The boys are becoming overconfident. Is that because of the rationality or because of that hormone level that goes up? Right? Now, many European countries, you can Google for that, many European countries, they are proposing that when the investors want to invest, right, or you do the share business and all those things, they are proposing, why not we take the blood test? Take the blood test. Why? Because the blood test, there's one particular hormone which is responsible for taking unnecessary risk. The moment this hormone level is higher in your body, it eventually realizes that you are the risk taker. So basically they are proposing that, right? And this is very important because many companies, their profit level actually depends on whether you are risk taker or risk averse. The best example is if you want to buy a car insurance, what do? The car insurance, right? Now, there's two types of car insurance. One we call it comprehensive car insurance, another is the third-party car insurance, right? Now, if you want to apply for the car insurance the first time, any company you go, what they will do? They will ask you a lot of questions. Are you familiar with those questions? The one question is very common, how old are you? Right? Another question is whether you're male or female. Are you familiar with those type of questions? Why they're asking about age and gender?
Because it's related to the amount of risk you're willing to take, or you are statistically prone to take.
The thing is, statistically what it says that if you look at the data set reveals that the accidents, when it takes place, generally it is the male who are responsible most of the cases, right? Female are a bit cautious driver. That's the data reveals, right? On the other hand, the age is also important, whether you are below 25 or above 25. Below 25, we are the teenage, we are mostly reckless, right? So that's why this thing matters. But if you look at carefully, this is why the neuroeconomics is coming. Male and female brain, do you think they are the same?
Isn't the frontal lobe in a male's develop slower than female? And their ability to make those decisions comes later in life?
I don't know about that. But do you think they are similar? That's the question.
No.
She says no. Can you tell me what's the difference?
I don't know, but I'm sure it is not the same exactly.
Are you sure? So what do you think? There's a Harvard researcher, you write down that book's name. That would be very helpful for your assignment as well. She wrote a book, it's called The Female Brain. Right? Read that book, you'll find, and she also wrote a book, another book, the second one is called The Male Brain. Right? Now remember, this is the New York bestseller. This book becomes a New York bestseller. It's called A Female Brain. The idea is very simple. What she explains there, she is a neurologist, right? And she is a medical doctor. She explains this. Apparently what happened, when we are in mother's womb, right? First 8 weeks, the male brain and the female brain are the same. Exactly the same, no difference. After 8 weeks, what happens in the male brain, when the testosterone level kicked in, it increases, the male brain, 2 centers are damaged. Pretty much. This is an accident, and it is the natural accident, whatever you say. One center is the emotional one, right? Another center is, they call it, what do you call? How do I explain that? It's called emotional and the communication center. These two. Basically, these are the functions that the frontal lobe is working. Right? It was damaged. So probably you are right. You're talking about the frontal lobe. Now the emotion and these things are actually responsible, this frontal lobe. What happens? These 2 centers are pretty much damaged. As a result, she actually derives what happens. The women are a bit chattier as a result of that because their centers are intact, right? Our centers are not. So we are comparatively less chattier, and more importantly, we have less emotion as well. So what she says, the boys are a bit aggressive.